Good morning, Barbados Labour Party family. How are you today? Now, whenever anybody asks you that from now on, the answer is all aboard. So, good morning, Labour Party family. How are you today? Are we ready for the battle ahead? Are we standing firmly behind Mia Amor? Are we standing behind these candidates? Are we going forward to victory? Barbados Labour Party, are you all aboard? Mia Morty and I joined the Barbados Labour Party at the same time. Let me thank the young lady for that, Mrs. Odell Roberts. She's from St. George, from Dwight's constituency, the training her up there. I want to thank her for her kind introduction. I begged her last night when she said, I'm going to be introducing you tomorrow. I said, sweet girl, please be short. Instead, the girl researched everything about my history that she could. Thank you so much. But thank you. For me, I flew into Barbados for this conference, and I leave tomorrow morning at 7. And I had to come. I had to come to witness the historic moment of a colleague and friend on the verge of rising to high office in this country. I had to come to be part of the Barbados Labour Party, which has rescued the country before and now is required to do so again. I had to come to be at this last conference before elections are called as we chart out on a journey where we are required to rescue, restore, renew, rebuild, resuscitate, and revitalize Barbados. I came because my party leader called me. And when she calls and says, all aboard, I say, aye, Captain, I am here. Captain, I am here. And I want to say to you and to Barbados that the Barbados Labour Party is here. This election is not set against ordinary circumstances. And it is part of the reason why I came. I came because I recognize that the country is in pain. Every time I come home, I meet somebody who has a story that brings tears to my eyes. One day, in the bread shop, Worrell's Bread Shop, at Eden Lodge, there's a young man standing by the cash register counting out coins to pay for bread, coins. And I am standing on the right corner of the shop. And I said, hey, sweetheart, you know me, sweetheart, sweet boy, how are you? He looked across. He didn't know who I was. I was home for a few days, and I love a salt bread. And he said, Mistress, you just pray? This man doesn't know me. And I said, yes, I do. And he said, pray for me. I said to him, what happened? He said to me he had lost his job. He had not worked in 2 years. He had a small child and no money. That the money he had that evening were the last coins he had to buy bread to carry home. You see, when Fronell and them get up and parade, they don't understand what people are going through. And that boy stood up in world shock and cried long tears. And I held him and prayed. And I said to him, go and see Motley. Go and have a conversation with her. I came because I saw the front page of the Nation newspaper. The octogenarian, it could have been my mother, struggling going up a hill, the cane in one hand and a white bucket in the other, going to get water. The truck was at the bottom of the hill and she had to make the way down to get the water and then back up again. And she was too weak to fill a bucket. But for the week she would need more than one bucket, but she could only carry one. And as she struggled up that hill, she said to the reporter, oh God, this is the worst government I ever see in my 86 years. I came because of the little 13-year-old who lives in St. Thomas, who is now reduced as if she lives in sub-Saharan Africa. She is having her period and she gets up. And this is real talk. Let's talk about what people really going through in this country. And day after day, she cannot get a bath to clean herself and make herself fresh as a young girl going to school. I came for her. And I came for the old man who has prostate problems, whose medicine has been, and his diabetes and other medications have been taken off the formulary, and he is struggling and has to choose which day he will take medicine because he can't afford all after working hard in the fields or the factory or the town. I came for him, and the Barbados Labour Party is here for them. I came not just because my party leader told me to come, but because when I go into the supermarket in Barbados, I watch people with the trolleys or their what do you call them? Baskets, thank you, the baskets. And people are trying to work out how much they could spend, and you see them putting back, and they're asking the cashier how much that is now. How much that is now. All right, wait a minute. And they send forward the eggs and they take out the flour. Or they push forward the flour because the flour could make bakes, but they do without the rice because you could make bakes every day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And they put in the biscuits, but they leave out the bread. Because these are choices that everyday people in Barbados are making and have to make. When we came so far, when unemployment was 6%, when this was the highest developing country in the Western Hemisphere, this is what Frendel Stewart and the Dems have reduced us to. And the Barbados Labour Party is here to say all aboard because the country has suffered enough. We cannot take any more. I have come, and the Barbados Labour Party is here because the poor and the working class have been emasculated. Women have been pauperized. Men have been dehumanized. The working class has been obliterated. The middle class has been decimated. Bajans are frustrated. And the business sector has been eviscerated. The country is being deracinated, pulled up from its very root. Everything, society, economy, gone. The Barbados we know, gone. I am here because when I walk on the international stage and people stop you, they ask you, what is going on in Barbados? What has happened in Barbados? And the worst shame of all was the night that I was at a UN function and a certain high-level person walked up to me and said, what kind of man is your prime minister? I've never seen a person like Frendel Stewart. In this so-and-so meeting, and he talked about the meeting, so-and-so and so-and-so happened, and the opportunity was given to him to speak. And I thought that he would have represented your country and small island developing states. He smiled and declined the opportunity to talk. We did not understand last election that when he woke up from his slumber and started talking, he was not talking to protect your jobs. He was talking to protect his own job and those of his colleagues. But the time is over, Stuart. All aboard. We are coming for you. And we are not coming for you in our own names. We are coming for you in the names of the people of this country, the people in here, the people out there, the people in your constituency and my former constituency in St. Michael Northeast and St. James Central and Christchurch and St. Lucie and the north of Barbados and the west of Barbados and the east, from the heights to the terraces to the gaps and the gullies. We are coming because the people of Barbados need a change of government. And what is Frondell Stewart saying? We had a 50th anniversary of our independence last year. You would have thought that this was an opportunity to articulate a new way forward, to give us a new policy platform to carry the country for another 50 years, to identify the social problems and to say these are the solutions, to have a national dialogue and conversation, to involve citizens in talking about and determining what their future will be. And instead we got fete, we got party, and we got a monument at the garrison. And he goes, and I make no mistake, the campaign has started. The campaign started when Chris Sinclair said that this is going to be the nastiest election that the public has ever seen. Well, when he said that, I believed him, because he was the minister who, when a Christian woman, a business person, got up and said, we would like to know what is happening with CLICO because so many people are affected and people are losing their livelihoods. He said that she was a bare pooch chatty. So when a man like that give you notice that an election is going to be nasty, understand two things. One, the campaign has started, and two, the Dems are going into the sewer. And they don't have, in Christchurch, when it rains, the feces floats on the road, so they don't have to go very far. And therefore, that is the context in which I want to frame my comments. This is going to be a campaign about rumor and salacious gossip. Wherever the Dems go now, they tell you don't vote for the BLP. They are going to legalize single-sex marriages and homosexuality. Mia Motley has said no, she will not do it. And if I have a choice between believing her and Stuart and them, I believe Motley. It is going to be an election about distractions and red herrings. And I want to deal with the first distraction and red herring that has been put on the road and will be spoken about this evening at Christchurch. This matter of a legal education certificate. I was admitted to the bar in October of 1987, 30 years ago this year. I was presented to the bar by Sir Richard Cheltenham, sitting here today. Mia Motley was admitted to the bar in October of 1987. December of 1987. Presented by Sir Henry Ford, a former Attorney General, QC, MP on this side, and Sir Maurice King, another former Attorney General, QC, MP on the other side. Former Attorney General as well. He was Attorney General at the time? At the time. So the Dems would now have you believe if you pick apart what they are saying, that they conspired to do something illegal to get Motley to practice law in Barbados when she was not entitled. Nonsense. You could see Henry Ford and Morris King getting together to do that. That is the consequence of what they are saying. But let's talk about it, because the truth about this matter must be told. Mia Motley is a QC. She is a former Attorney General. Let us understand what happens when you get admitted. You have to bring your legal qualifications to be examined, and only then do they accept you. And she was accepted and admitted to the bar by a learned jurist, Sir Dennis Williams, long may he rest in peace. Before the Chief Justice, no person less. So all of these people, it isn't just Motley that they're cursing, because what they're telling you is that all of these people conspired and did something wrong to facilitate her. That's really what they're saying. But let's go further. And let me say this. Mia Motley does not have a legal education certificate. She does not have it because she did anything wrong. She does not have it because a special circumstance was created for her and for her alone. That is not the case. Mia Motley does not have a legal education certificate because she was not required by law to have one. I'm here trying to find a list that I want to share with you, and I cannot believe. Now, there is a treaty by which this whole matter of the legal legal training is set up. And under the treaty, you were supposed, there was a period when you could be barristers, you could be legal clerks, and so on, and people were then what they call grandfathered in. Then there was a period where you had to have your LEC, but it was new. And Trinidad breached the requirement for an LEC and admitted people to the bar who did not have one. A committee was then set up to deal with it. And the committee decided that there would be a period, and that everybody who had trained in London or in any place of competent, recognized training and was admitted to the Inns of Court of London, joined the Inns of Court. Join the Inns of Court. I was going to say, well, I did not go. I went to Trinidad. But that was the situation, that those people who had gone to the Inns of Court could be admitted if they were in an institution of training and had been called to the Inns of Court before December 31st of 1987. Before 84? Before. Mia Motley was called in the August. The 6th of August, 1984. So she fell within the list of those who would be allowed to practice without a legal education certificate. And the people introducing her to the Inns of Court in London were Sir Henry Ford, QC, MP, Attorney General, and the Right Excellent Errol Barrow, nobody less. Those were the people. So this notion that somehow she is not a qualified lawyer is utter rubbish. She is fully qualified, trained at the London School of Economics, admitted to Middle Temple in the United Kingdom, allowed to practice in Barbados in 1987 because the rules said you had to be admitted by 31st December 1984, and Mia was admitted in August of 1984, 3 years before the cutoff date. Yeah, I did say Middle Temple. But you know what makes it nastier still? Yes, and I got mine here. And I want the journalists to do their work. I want the journalists to do their work. It is my understanding that a man called Douglas Greenidge, he's a former president of the Democratic Labour Party. He don't have no LEC, and he practicing law in Bridgetown. Ask the journalists to investigate that. Is it true? Does he have one? And if he doesn't, why he don't tell his party leader that the talking foolishness, because he practicing without a LEC. I understand, I do not know if it is true, that Heather Clark, the registrar of the Supreme Court and former magistrate in this country, does not have an LEC because she too, like Motley, was in that period where you could come without one. Ask if that is true. At corporate affairs she is at. But let me tell you, the people I can tell you for sure that do not have any LEC and are practicing in this country. You know a woman called Donna Simmons, commentator, attorney at law in this country, no LEC. You ever hear about Peter Hanschel, John Hanschel of the Hanschel legal family? Got a big law firm in Bridgetown, practicing law about here, no LEC. You heard about Ver Brathwaite, run for the NDP, practicing law in Barbados, no LEC. And these are attorneys practicing law, fully, completely qualified, practicing in Barbados, but the worst ain't come yet. You ever hear about His Lordship Justice Randall Worrell, Judge of the Supreme Court of Barbados? No LEC. And he not only is a lawyer, but a judge presiding over legal matters. But they would have you believe that Mia did something terribly wrong, which disqualifies her from being an attorney and disqualifies her from being a leader of the Barbados Labour Party and leading this country. It is foolishness. And what they now want to do is to put the whole legal and justice system in Barbados in uproar, because it is going to come out all who do not have an LEC. And if they are saying Motley is not qualified, then pull down the rest if you dare. Pull down the rest. Pull down the rest. And they're not going to do that because this is a distraction. This is the equivalent of Donald Trump's birther issue, to say that was not born. Obama was not born in the United States, and you spend years talking about it. You tie up a whole country talking about it. You run it into an election and mash up the place with it. And this is what this is about. It is the politics of DLP distraction. Do not be distracted. Think about your supermarket bill. Think about the NSRL. Think about prices in this country. Think about the fact that we pay the 15th highest price for gasoline in the world. Think about the fact that our economy was an A-rated economy and they have moved it to triple D minus with 20 downgrades. Think about the fact that however you measure it, the country is in crisis. And rather than talk about that, rather than define the policy positions that will transform us and the country, rather than say how you will get bread on your table and water in your taps and gas in your car and deal with the crime in the country, They are telling you Mia Motley has no LEC. How is it important? Michael Carrington has an LEC. His poor old disabled client still wants his $400,000 or how much ever it is. What LEC what? What LEC what? We have an attorney general with an LEC. Crime breakout. His contribution to that is to leave his wife and go and live with a policewoman. Listen, I salute her because she's not a sergeant. So she got promoted, so she must be working good enough. In fact, she is working so well that when they asked Frendel what they Adriel, what they are going to do about crime in the country, he said things in Trinidad are much worse than they are in Barbados. Who in Trinidad votes for him? I do not know of any Black Rock or Haynesville in Trinidad. Deal with this country. We, the people of Barbados, demand attention, respect, resolution of the country's problems. We want the country restored, revitalized, renewed, rebuilt, and we know that the Democratic Labour Party cannot do it. So this election is going to be about the politics of distraction. And this evening, they're going to Christchurch to deal with the image of the first distraction. Well, I have dealt with it. Mia Motley does not have a legal certificate. The law did not require her to have one. There are several practicing attorneys and judges in Barbados who do not have legal education certificates, and there is nothing wrong with it. They were all admitted to practice, received the license to do so every year, and it is all lawful. But even if Mia Motley did, okay, let me put it this way. If she does not have a legal education certificate, tell me what that has to do with her being Prime Minister. Not a single thing. Not a single thing. The next thing that this election is going to be about is the politics of rumor. And I want to find, because I started, the politics of nastiness. I want to be frank here. I want to be frank. And let us be frank with the country. Those of us who come to politics, and I speak of everybody on this platform, I speak of all of them, I speak of leaders all over the world, I speak of leaders in Barbados. Those of us who come to serve can serve with distinction even if we are not saints. God came to call the sinner, not the saved. And Mia Motley is a sinner seeking grace like the rest of us. And like Frondel Stewart and the them should do. She may not be a saint. She would tell you that she is a sinner. And I am telling you that she is not a scoundrel. She is not the scoundrel that the Democratic Labour Party is painting her to be. I want to deal with something, and I believe, and when I started, I want to deal with something. I believe that partly partly because she is female, and partly because people see her as coming from privilege, whatever that is, that she is being held to a different standard. And she is being disqualified from leadership because of faults, flaws, and foibles that all the rest of us have. But let us look at all the previous leaders. Frondell Stewart goes regularly to Canada and to the United Kingdom, and whatever he does up there, he cannot bring back any official report on. Frondell Stewart is a single man, has children out of wedlock, would not even put a ring on it. And they're talking about morality, right? Oyatha was prime minister and a married man. The next thing you know, he introduced a family and married the secretary. Erskine Sandiford lynched a whole Democratic Labour Party, lynched at the Tourist Board and lynched at CBC. He lynched a whole party. David Thompson, well, he was a man of Catholic taste. Catholic means universal. And then he left the country with Clico. Errol Barrow is perhaps the most revered leader of this country ever. It was an open secret that Errol Barrow had multiple relationships and a steady relationship with a person with whom he lived. It did not stop him from being a proper prime minister or a proper leader. Tom Adams was a kinsman. I want some ice. This is going to take a little time. Sorry. The agenda for today, lick up. Frondell Stewart leads a cabinet with a man called Donville Innes, who was served at his residence in St. James to do with a pornography case for a business which he owned in the United States. A man who had naked news, and they are talking about morality. 3 or 4 government ministers have either left their wives or divorced them, living with young girls, got little children. It is an open secret in Barbados. And they are talking about morality. And they are telling you that Mia Mottley is somehow so much a sinner that she is disqualified from leadership. Bill Clinton offered a young girl called Monica Lewinsky a cigar in the White House, and it nearly brought down the whole government. And he is still a revered leader, loved all over the world. Back here, the Dems love Cammy Tudor for his ability, but Cammy Tudor would not go through a front door at all. You invite your Cammy to your house. He said, it's a back door open. Let me find a little bit because I ain't done yet. are talking about morality. Low, who is the lowest minister that the country has ever seen, is before the court for child money. If you are leading the country and talking about morality, nobody should have to put you in court for child money. You should be too ashamed. Pitbull was informed that he had a little puppy and served with paternity papers in Parliament. He before the court for child money and paternity too. Is Frondell Stewart talking to his team about morality? And he stepped out of George Street to come to Labour Party headquarters to talk about morality. Frondell, we at the door. You can't get in. We ain't going to let you tear up me and Motley over foolishness. It is not going to happen. Deal with the issues. Look, I am not going to deal with these men except to say that why? There are men and she is a woman, so she is to be judged by a different standard. They are deserving of forgiveness and can serve, but she is to be excoriated and excommunicated from public life. No, Skipper, it ain't gonna happen. So you understand why I get on a plane, buy my nice shirt and come. Because we are here to deal with the real issues. And let me talk about Frondell. Because I cannot finish unless I talk about Frondell, and there are one or two other issues. We got time? Yeah. No. And I'm not even getting to the issue of corruption. That people who were bouncing checks a few years ago are now multimillionaires, luxury cars, mortgage-free homes, bank accounts overseas. Where people know what the price of doing business is in Barbados. And Frondell Stewart says that this is going to be a nasty election. Chris, and Frondell says it is going to be about morality. Listen, people, if you got glass windows, glass doors, and glass roof, I beg you, don't throw no rock stones, because some boulders coming back at you. When I did my master's in business administration, I did a course in leadership. And they told us that fundamentally, the role of a leader was to do two things. Two things. That is really your primary role as a leader. You are to enunciate and articulate a vision with which your followers can identify, which would resonate within the organization, which becomes part of the core and the foundation principles, and you are to communicate that vision and communicate with your followers and organization. Frondell Stewart will tell you about, if he open his mouth, will tell you about mongooses. He will tell you that there are people on the pig's nipples and they got to get take off. Watch me good, Frondell, you coming off. You are coming off, Frondell. Because we have had enough. And let me say to you, think about it for a moment. Everything in nature tries to communicate. In the morning when you get up, blackbirds are tweeting. Chirp, 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 chirp. You heard them. Wood doves are cooing. At night when you come home, Crickets are cricketing and chirping. Whistling frogs are whistling. Nature is trying to communicate. Whales talk to one another. Ants talk to one another. If you have a cat, it will rub up against you and purr. If you have a dog, it will bark. When intruders are at the gate, it will alert you. If you got a parrot, oh Lord, it will talk, but not a frondel. It won't tell you a word. All of nature except Frondel Stewart, the unnatural man. I would not even bring anybody, put a ring on, and to come in at night and talk to him and give him a little comfort. No wonder he don't speak to his cabinet. No wonder he does not speak to the country. Look, I am married. When you are married, you have to talk. When you live in a house with a man or a woman with children, you got to talk. Frondel is an isolated character reading Ulysses, Paradise Lost, Shakespeare, and other poets. But he is not talking to the followers. He is breaching the fundamental precepts of leadership and humanity. Humanity, you know, that is what it is about. The woman who lost her sons, the village who was traumatized as two young men lay dead, holes in their head and bleeding, wanted to hear from a caring prime minister. They wanted a touch of humanity. They wanted a word of comfort. The country needed the voice of security for its prime minister to say, this is what we are going to do. This is a tragedy. I extend sympathy to the family and the community. Not even that could Frondel manage. And that is who we are leading, who we have leading us in the time of the worst crisis that the country has ever seen. A crisis precipitated by Frondel, Chris Sinclair, and Don Villeneuve, and Eswick, and all the rest of them. None of them is exempt. And I want just for a few seconds, people of St. James South, to deal with Don Villeneuve. No, he would like to think that he's a trickster. Well, I'm told, Frondel told Ralph and Eddie in Trinidad that he would never marry a Bajan. Well, I don't know. Donville. Let me explain something to you about. Let me explain something to you about cabinet government. When a measure comes before the cabinet, you have to vote for it or vote against it. When a measure, once the cabinet decides, you are compelled to go with it and to defend the policy decision. In Parliament, the same thing. But what Don Villeneuve does is vote in cabinet to support the measures that are killing people in this country. Vote in Parliament to support the measures that are strangling the economy of this country. And then he gets out. I've told the Prime Minister that they need to stop doing this to people. He is doing it. He could stand up, but he refuses because he really underestimates the intelligence of the community. He does not know that people understand that you go and deliberately drop in a pothole and then call the press to see it. Could there look at getting damage from a pothole too? He does not understand that we know that he does not turn up at a fire to give solace to the family, but will come the night with the press so that he can be photographed. Because to him, the loss of a property, children in fear, people frightened by a fire is a photo opportunity. I know that has been long. And There are just a couple more things, couple more points that I want to make before I close because I think that they are important. I want to turn to this issue of morality again because it is certainly part of the narrative that the Democratic Labour Party will be telling over the course of the next few months or few weeks as we journey toward an election. And I think that there is a narrative of morality which can be told, but I am not dwelling on the faults of men. Judgment is mine, said the Lord, and I'm leaving the judgment of their sins to the Lord. I am dealing with the social and economic issues on which I can judge with my vote and which I invite you to judge with yours. I want to talk about the immorality of silence. The immorality of not speaking to a country where people are losing their jobs and cannot make ends meet. I want to speak about the immorality of silence in a country where black people, and I am not identifying black people for any particular reason save other than the fact that we were born in poverty. And when we get a house, very often that house is our principal asset for the rest of our lives. And people are losing their homes. You turn the paper and you see the notices for sale by bank of so-and-so, for sale by bank of so-and-so, for sale by bank of so-and-so. And every structure is a life of sacrifice, of saving, of hope to own a house, of joy of owning a house, and of agony of losing a house. Every loss of a house is a child on the street, their security platform removed from underneath them, and seeing their parents' pain and internalizing that fear and going to school and unable to study because they are going to be without a property in which to live. I want to talk about the immorality of that. I want to speak about the immorality of not being able to buy medicine, basic medicine in this country. I want to speak about the immorality of the high cost of living, the highest in the Caribbean, when ours was one of the lowest. I want to speak about the immorality of his silence on the 20 downgrades. We left an A economy. It is triple D minus with an pessimistic outlook. And triple C, and he now is silent on that. I want to speak about the morality of being in a situation where every day you read the papers, there are stories of hurt, and in the middle of that, the government goes and raises its own salary. You suck salt, but they must buy bread. They must drink Johnny Walker Black and Blue. They must drive Land Rover and Range Rover and BMW. You take the brunt of the hardship of the economy while they live large. I want to talk about the immorality of that. I want to talk about the immorality that of the new national game becoming dodge a pothole because you got to choose which one you're going in. Cars getting mashed up. You see in the photographs in the paper, you saw the one people have cones in them, flags in them, coconuts in them, everything to alert people to danger. Women falling down on the way to work. You can't wear to work high heels anymore. You can't drive your cars in comfort. I want to talk about the immorality of that. I want to talk about the immorality of robbing Barbadians of their right to education and turning around. After you, a poor man, got education, driving one of the most expensive cars in the country, living in Illawarra Court, one of the most lovely properties on the island, at the public's expense. You got education. You climbed up the ladder to the highest office on it, and now you telling poor people, children, that education is a luxury that you are not giving to them. I want to talk about the morality of that. And I want Frondell and the Dems to look in the face of the 70% of women who had to drop out of Cave Hill campus because they can no longer afford their fees, and their children will no longer have the opportunity for comfort and for upward social mobility, whose dreams have been snatched from them by an uncaring, heartless government. I want to talk about the immorality of that. I want to talk about the immorality of that. I want to talk about the immorality of the fact that every time they step out there in brand name, but policemen and nurses can't get a new uniform. You go in the hospital, the place is in shambles. Bring your own soap. Bring your own toilet paper. Bring your own medicine. Bring your own nurse if you can afford it. Bring somebody to feed you. Bring your own food. That is what QEH is at now. And I want to talk about the immorality of that. I want to talk about that kind of immorality. So when they say that there is going to be a narrative and the election is going to be about morality, I agree with them. And I am defining the issues of immorality which are important to me and important to the country. Because when you go to the supermarket, you cannot carry mere motley LEC or lack of LEC. When you face the gas station, you cannot carry mere motley's lifestyle. When you face the bank to say, give me a chance, mere motley is not there with you. It is the policies of the Democratic Labour Party who have you in hardship that you have to be talking about and concerned about. That is the immorality that this country needs to discuss. I want to talk about the immorality of a government that raises water rates and tells you that they are going to improve the public water system, and it gets worse in half of the country. I want to talk about a party that where before garbage was picked up every week, every day, you have to wait 4 and 6 weeks for a garbage collection. And then now, a garbage collection is such a big thing in Barbados, it's not routine anymore, that people will turn up at your house with the press to show that your garbage getting. Eric Lewis cursed them and pointed out that his garbage had not been picked up for 4 weeks. At that point, I had not had a garbage collection for 5. And that day, the PR arm of the SSA came down to pose that they were picking up garbage. That is their job. There is nobody in the Dems who goes to work to do their job. And that is immoral. And I want to talk about that immorality. I want to talk about raising land tax. I want to talk about raising VAT to 17.5 and saying it will only be there for a couple of months, and all like no years later it's still there, and NSRL add on to it too. I want to talk about the morality of that. I want to talk about the morality of putting a poor old lady on the bus to pose and say the BLP will take bus fares from her, but no, you can't even get a bus. Talk to me about that morality. Talk to me about the fact that road taxes are higher than they ever were, and our roads are worse than they ever were. About the fact that this government is collecting the largest amount of tax of any government ever in the history of the country, and every single thing in the country is worse. And what is worse is that we have no idea what is going to happen. You get up every day wondering who gonna get killed, who gonna get robbed, who will lose their job, what price is going to go up, what scandal with the government, which downgrade is going to happen, and I hear another one is coming. I don't know if it is true. So this Labour Party is saying all aboard because this is a visionless, rudderless, senseless, drifting government, and the country cannot be allowed to drift anymore. We are at the bottom. We have to head back to the top. For us now to rank with Venezuela is the worst shame that Barbadians could feel. And they owe the country an apology for this immorality. For these immoralities, many, varied, sustained, continuous, unrelenting, and unforgivable. I want to close, because I have been way over my time. Party leader, I want to thank you for your gracious patience. No, the election the election is coming. As a Calypsoan said, so much things I can't talk all. Wait. I want, before I close, to sound a caution to the Barbados Labour Party. The election is not won. You hear me? It is won vote by vote, box by box, constituency by constituency. Do not win a victory until election night, when every vote is counted. I am asking you to stand behind our leader. I am asking you to stand behind this team of competent men and women of whom I am proud to be a part and to have been a part. I am asking you to stand on the history of this Labour Party. But most of all, I am asking you to stand on the vision of Mayor Amor Motley. She will talk the country through the situation. She will bring the country through the situation. She will bring the people of Barbados out of this situation. Frundell tells us that he is coming to our Maker. And I say, pause, Frundell. God, Amor, and Elliot made her, and you cannot unmake her. She is made in God's image. His work is perfect. He did not make us saints. He made us sinners. And he sent his son to save us. And Mia will save this country, and God will save her if indeed she has sins at her. So when I received the phone call, I came to be part of this moment. I came to be part of this movement. I came to be part of this liberation. Frundell tells us that Mayor Motley is disqualified from serving as Prime Minister because she came from privilege. My mother is here today. She's 93 years old. She was a maid. She scrubbed toilets, cleaned people's houses, cooked their food, looked after their children. Like many Barbadians across this country, it was decent work. It was work. Kirk, I know your mother Merle, she was a bus conductor, she was my client. Ryan Strawn, I know people who went to school with you and who can speak to what you came from, but who also speak to who you are as a person. Jeffrey Bostic, you and I sat down in St. Mary's Infant School together all them years ago. We were skinny and our hair was black. John King, social worker, Calypsonian. And a Calypsonian is a griot of the conditions of the country. Do not dismiss Calypsonians. My mother, and I'm sorry, I can't call all the candidates. I'm Sandra, but I got to call you. A woman who follows me in St. James South. St. James South, you took me into your bosom. You elevated me to the parliament. I was elevated to the cabinet. St. James South, rise to the occasion and carry Sandra Husbands to parliament. Carry Sandra Hundreds to parliament. Get rid of Donville Innes. He is a nuisance. He is a nuisance. He has offered this country nothing as a minister except pretty talk. If a man give you pretty talk and no money to put in your pocket, kick you out the house, don't let it in your bag. Get rid of Donville Innes. He is a nuisance. I have left the UN and I'm ready for this campaign. I tell you. Mommy, I love you with all my heart. And I know that even though your experience as a girl was the pit toilet, that you worked so that your daughter would never have to go one. Frondell Stewart, nobody in Barbados is going back to pit toilets with you. Even though your policies are pushing the country there, we will not come with you. The Labour Party will not let them come. This is not a pit toilet election. It is an election about freeing people from poverty. It is an election about delivering people into prosperity. Nobody looks in the face of their child and says, my boy, when you grow up, my daughter, when you grow up, I want you to have a pit toilet. They tell the child, I want to give you prosperity. I want to give you what I never had. I don't want you to see the hardship that I saw. I don't want you to smell the hell that I smell. I don't want you to know what it is to be hungry. I don't want you to know what it is to be without. But that is where we are. Frondell, keep your pit toilet. There isn't one in Elara Court. But when we get rid of you, if you can find one that you like, sit on it and contemplate what you have done to this country, because we are not coming back with you. We are forward ever, backward never. Mia Motley is our leader. Born in prosperity, will take us to prosperity. She is qualified to be a leader. She is my political leader. She is your political leader. Mia Motley.